Dr. Robotnik's Ring Racer is peak. We are so back, baby! Dr. Robotnik's Ring Racers is a kart racing game released in April 24, 2024. And it can sort of serve as a sequel to the original Sonic Robo Blast 2 kart, SRB 2K, which was once what I considered the peak of kart racing. And even nowadays, I'd say it still stomps out a lot of kart racers. Just once again, an example of a free fan-made game creating the peak version of a specific genre. But just because I say that doesn't mean that other kart racers don't have their own unique things to offer. This is just YouTube speak. You gotta blow things out of proportion and make big statements. Y'all know the vibe. But when it does come to kart racers, you know, I'd rather play SRB 2K, or in the case now, Dr. Robotnik's Ring Racers. Funnily enough, in my original SRB 2K video, I had said that we were on the cusp of this update to SRB 2K, and well, I was wrong. And that was because while Ring Racers started out as a simple update to SRB 2K, it ended up evolving over the years into its own game, which I think is a wise idea for several reasons we'll get to. But I also understand that a lot of you are upset, clenching your fists and like, to see me again. My original SRB 2K video is one of the only videos I've ever deleted on this channel. It's not possible to watch it. It was that bad. I've since replaced it with a much better version. However, because it's old and because I made it, I still hate it and think it's trash. It happens. But the damage was already done. My original video was seen, and I was deservedly dunked on and thoroughly roasted. I'm still reeling from when this person called Roy Curbs said I sounded like Chad Warden. Sup, it's Spacey Soundy here. I'm talking about that SRB double. Like, damn, you got me effed up. So needless to say, I was exiled from the community. And the last thing anyone ever wanted to see was another video from me. Which I don't know. Maybe that's why I still haven't made that SRB 2 video I always wanted to make. That game's peak in its own right. But the damage... Fuck, stop laughing. But the damage was already done. Anyways, I had been anticipating Dr. Robotnik's Ring Racers for so long, and it was like a jump scare the day it came out. Which, by the way, I think we can all agree that Dr. Robotnik's Ring Racers is a much better title than Sonic Robo Blast 2 Kart. Like, whenever I bring up SRB 2K to people, they're like, what the hell is that again? And I mean, granted, this game might not have the best acronym either. DRRR, like D-triple-R, you tell me. But you know about that Dr. Triple. But Ring Racers sounds great. I just need to catch myself if I accidentally call it Ridge Racers. But that's kind of the ring that it's going for, no pun intended. So let me lay down the groundwork of what Ring Racers is about. It's a kart racer. Select a character and race through, quite honestly, a massive selection of tracks. Collect items, rings, take shortcuts, maybe even do some tricks, and try to get first. Now, I've already mentioned some of the new mechanics right there, and there's a lot that this game has to offer this time. First off, let me just get this out of the way. This game is goddamn gorgeous. Like, God, the character sprites, the colorful levels, and the incredible music accompanying them. This shit is so peak to why I love pixel art. I already thought SRB 2K looked great, but these stages just bring it to the next level. It captures that sense of differing moods, colors, and joys I get from exploring game worlds that sprite games do so well with their sharp and poignant colors. Every track feels like it's an entire world, its own vibe, and being able to just breathe and soar at high speeds to these areas is excellent. And just imagine I'm telling you all how amazing this game looks and sounds all throughout this video. But with that in mind, I already have a complaint. And it's still the same complaint I have from the first game, where the power-up music gets in the way of the main track playing. Like, I really wish there was a toggle to turn this off so whenever I get invincibility or giant, it doesn't just replace the song meant for the stage. Because it's especially distracting in multiplayer game modes, where there's no chance you get to enjoy the track designated for the course you're playing on, because at least one player is going to be using invincibility or giant to get back. But I like to think this was kept as punishment for playing poorly. You don't deserve to vibe. Die. But if we're going to start anywhere, we need to talk content. Well, we don't need to, but I really want to. Unlike the original game, Ring Racers has some great single player content, such as actual AI, which can now be experienced in a Grand Prix mode. The Grand Prix mode is great on its own, with stage rankings, mini-games, and even secret races to collect Chaos Emeralds. The AI is pretty hilarious too. Like, I think they're actually pretty good. And the character-specific rivals you encounter can do some dirty shit. Like, this may have just been chance, but I swear, I've seen them just break to hit me with an item. It's unreal. Another thing I absolutely love about Ring Racers is its unlock system. Yeah, baby. We're straight up Kirby Air Ride coded, my gamer. Starting out, you have like 5 characters, and that's about it. But by playing the game and completing tasks, it's possible to unlock up to like 56 characters, I believe? And like over 100 colors, I'm pretty sure, while also unlocking pets, cups, and the like. And you earn keys to open up any challenge just by racing. So it was always cool to play online for a bit, get some keys, and spend them to get some new stuff. Putting a pin in this game also comes with a tutorial, and I absolutely loved it. It has a whole story going on between Tails and Eggman teaming up, and the map you go to is just so pretty. Like, I was high-key getting emotional playing through this on release day. Like, they cooked so hard, man. However, it should be noted that while this tutorial is split up into sections, it takes around 30 to 40 minutes to beat. It took me like 50 because I was high-key vibing, but Ring Racers is a complicated game. And well, to finish my sandwich, people really hated all of this. The unlocking, the forced tutorial, the needing to play a Grand Prix in order to play online. Like, I was seeing people saying that this game had a terrible launch, and it's like, damn, gamers have really gone downhill over these years. Y'all are down bad. I remember seeing someone saying, this game thinks it's Smash Bros. With its unlock system. And listen, gamer, Dr. Robotnik's Ring Racers is better than Smash Bros. And it is most certainly better than you. And also, it's Kirby's fucking Air Ride, and I don't ever want you to speak again. Listen, you're entitled to your own opinion, but I love the tutorial. And, as I already stated, I love the unlock system. I like that when I play this game, I'm making progress. I have secondary objectives. I straight up thrown online races in order to grab spray cans to get new colors. I'm glad I get to unlock things, and I think it's so cool to log in on lobbies and see what other characters that people have. And the community coming together and telling each other how to get certain characters is awesome. I think it's cool that starting out, everyone had different characters. I felt good at the moment because I don't think many people have my main, Big the Cat, because you have to do some wild shit to get him. The devs have sadly backpedaled a bit due to the criticism. The tutorial is no longer forced, and there is a tournament code that unlocks everything for that play session, which has resulted in people joining online races like, wait, this game has a trick system? Because they skipped the tutorial. Let's talk about some of these modes. There's of course the ones that you'd expect, the single races, the time attacks. There's battle mode, which I low-key haven't even touched yet, but I do respect it's there. I like battle mode. And of course, the big one, Grand Prix mode. This mode takes you through one of 28 cups, each consisting of 7 levels, which, yes, is 196 tracks in this racing game, which, yes, is a F-ton of content for a game like this. And side note, this is just why I love indie stuff. If this was some shitty AAA gig, they'd release like 2 cups and save the rest for DLC. But this game has more content than a large number of racing games, and it's completely free. It really does impress over many in that regard. How Grand Prix works is that you'll face off against 7 opponents in 5 races. If you're playing local multiplayer, then the AI will be replaced, but it will always be 8 players total. Get ready for the shock of playing online with 12 to 16 players. Anyways, after the first race, your rival will be decided, usually related to the character you're playing as, like Knuckles will have Chaos Zero or Egg Robo, you get the idea. It just depends on which of them places better in the first race. Rivals are straight up wild. Like, I promise, they personally go out of their way to antagonize you, and you kinda get that vibe of a real person. After completing a race, you'll receive your score and a little mini-map showing your progress through the cup. If you as a single person or all players currently playing place 5th or lower, then you'll have to do the level again, alongside losing a life, which can be regained from, I believe, holding on to enough rings, but also the bonus minigame. Grand Prix has 2 bonus stages, taking place on battle levels. Players will have to work together to destroy the prison eggs using specialized items. I think it's pretty good practice to subliminally teach the player distance and timing when it comes to firing projectiles in normal races. After all races are complete, the player will have a chance at grabbing a Chaos Emerald. I don't know what exactly determines this, but I'm certain it's the ring bonus, which is a bonus for how many rings you've held onto when finishing the race, max 20 of course, because, I mean, that's how it works in normal Sonic games, right? You need to have enough rings to go to the bonus zone. Regarding, if you fulfill the requirements for the Chaos Emerald, you get taken to this 6th stage with a jamming tune. The goal here is to utilize items in order to break open the object carrying the Chaos Emerald, and then grabbing the emerald before it's too late. This creates a tricky game of managing speed and items. These can be pretty tough, so having as many lives as possible is important, as once you run out, you're out of attempts for this Grand Prix. But yeah, really dope mode if you have some people locally who want to play, and if anyone's just afraid of playing online, which you really shouldn't be, but I get it. Let's talk about all the new mechanics at play. Starting out, all races will have this sort of Sonic Rider-esque timer, position phase as it is. Here, players can move around and prepare themselves for the race. The barrier here putting anyone who touches it into a timeout state, which makes it really funny online to purposefully push people too close to it. Like, I feel a palatable joy when I do this shit to people, and I don't know what that says about me. But I love the amount of expression here, being able to bonk a fellow gamer, collect some rings. I prefer going back in the course and collecting some items. Yes, it is possible to grab fixed item boxes before the race even starts. My favorite one is on Angel Island, where you can start the race by grabbing 2 bombs, which I then throw and watch everyone blow up. I've low-key thought of making a montage of just me doing this, because every time I play this level I do it. But what you'll see most people doing here is revving up their spin dash to try and get a perfect timing through the gate, which gives a huge boost. When it comes to controls, spin dashing is the new major one, being used to a variety of situations, such as needing to speed up a hill after getting hit, or its secondary function of being a fast fall whilst in the air. And trust me, you're going to be in the air a lot in this game. Another thing you'll notice on tracks are these barriers here. These designate shortcuts, and you'll need certain items or be at a certain speed to pass them. I'm not really sure how I feel about this. One cool thing about SRB 2K was discovering shortcuts on your own, and potentially even getting knocked in a way where you could lawnmower through a shortcut and get an advantage. But seeing these huge, obvious, hey buddy, there's a shortcut here, and you need an item to go through it, I don't know. It's a little distracting. It might even harm expression. But at the same time, I see this as a step to helping out new players, and course clarity. Because back in SRB 2K, some of these shortcuts, like, you had to see someone else do it to know about it. There's still tracks I've played on so much that I probably don't even know all the shortcuts to, making them just another example of the skill gap, where the more experienced player will have the advantage and knowledge of these cuts where new players may never find out. And of course, the more obvious, lawn mowing some of these shortcuts was faster than taking the normal path in these levels. And this change definitely cuts the skill gap in a way that I think is overall positive. Tricking is something seen sometimes, and it's pretty cool. There's these two semicircles that show up, and you need to time a directional input when they align. Up makes you go forward, down makes you go up, left and right, self-explanatory. And this may be my wackest take in this video, but playing through the tutorial and using tricks to maneuver around made this game feel like a 3D platformer to me, and it still kinda does. Some of these courses have multiple routes, and feel like maps I'd be running around in SRB 2 or something. I just think it translates the Sonic blood well, which is something I'll get into later. This game has a lot of stuff to it. Like I said, the tutorial is 30 minutes long or so I'm not going to say every new mechanic on offer here, but the most important one is the one that I wish to talk about now. The ring system. Everyone can hold a max of 20 rings, and they're everywhere on the track, but can also be obtained from ring boxes, which show up after somebody has collected an item box. This is something you're forced to deal with, as item sets typically only have about 4 boxes to them, so this is very much a game where you can go an entire race without getting any items, just these ring boxes. Rings are this game's major mechanic, and create an incredible risk and reward system that you need to balance while also racing. They can be spent to speed yourself up, which an instant speed up button has a ton of use cases. If you want to know why so much of this footage of this game is just people flying around at uncontrollably high speeds, it's because of this. Spin rings as much as you can, and when you get ring boxes, you're allowed to just hold down that ring spin button and soar while the rings just go to you. However, there is a risk to it as well. When you run out of rings, you're put into a danger state that all players around you can see, where you'll lose any bump trade and get knocked around. You can even go into debt here, and if you get hit at negative 20 rings, you get destroyed and need to respawn. While at 0 rings, you can charge up this spin attack. Doing so costs rings, which will put you into debt, while also preventing you from grabbing rings or item boxes, but it makes for an incredibly satisfying offensive and defensive tool. It feels so good to hit someone with this. I know when the ring system was first talked about, when this game was just an update, people were scared, but I think they cooked. Case in point, I know people who straight up didn't like SRB 2K at all, but I played ring races with them, and they love it. And they told me that one of the reasons they love it is because of the ring system. They liked that when they got hit, they could spin rings and immediately start driving at high speed again. No feels bad phase of having to slowly speed back up. And considering I've heard people say that this game will be harder for newer players to get into, I think that statement from someone who I know doesn't like complicated games with complex mechanics is notable. Knowing when to use rings and controlling yourself at high speed is the skill gap of this game, which I think is nice. The rings are a mechanic that benefits everyone and helps make this game distinct from other kart racers. Speaking of ring boxes, I think the items are very notable for one specific reason in this game. They aren't random. Players can choose what item they want by timing it with a press. And you know what this bold confidence screams to me? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're all thinking the same thing here. Smash Tour. I know some of y'all are like, oh, Spacey, that mode is awful. I hate Smash Tour. And listen, Smash Tour gets a lot of hate from not so educated people, let's be civil. When really, I thought it was incredible. Because I bet most of y'all didn't even know that you could choose the number you rolled in that game, creating such a strategic masterstroke of a board game. A truly bold decision that haters pushed away under the guise of, this game mode makes no sense to me. And listen, gamer, nobody asked if you were smart. You don't need to tell us you aren't. I'm not even smart. The concept of smart isn't smart. But I have the respect to understand a game, and part of growing up is understanding that Smash Tour may just be better than you. And if any of you not well-educated people come into the comments arguing against Smash Tour, I won't reply, because what's the point of an argument if I already know I'm right? I will make a game like Smash Tour one day, and nobody will play it. Okay, so anyways, being able to choose your item is pretty cool. Granted, a lot of the time it goes too fast to tell. However, it's a pretty small cycle of items, so if you let it rotate a few times and learn the pattern, you can actually time a press on what you want. Of course, you also need to keep your eyes on the road while doing this, but I'm a Puyo Puyo player, so I'm used to the idea of finding time to divert my attention elsewhere. I think it's an interesting spin on a mechanic from SRB 2K. In SRB 2K, there was this hidden feature where if you didn't mash your item, you would get an item of higher quality. And that idea is sort of taken here, waiting out and learning the item roulette cycle you were given in order to be rewarded with selecting what you want. This is a lot easier with ring boxes, which have a set rotation of items, the only variable being the speed of the rotation. Speaking of items, there's a ton of them. I'm not going to go over all of them this time around, but I appreciate the options that First Place has. With the rings creating a more offensive-oriented game, it's no longer overpowered for First Place to have a Jaws or an Orbital. Front running is extremely difficult, and First Place will need a fight to hold that place. That's something I always liked about Road Rash, oddly enough. When you were in first, you always had to be ready to box back. But that was mostly just due to the rubber banding in that game. And I think it's cool that First Place gets to choose what they want. Orbital shields, a mine to set up if they're far enough ahead that they don't need a defensive item, or maybe even rings to keep up the speed. You are actively making a decision in first place, not just playing time attack mode. Speaking of offense, I think my favorite thing about this game is how visceral it is. Like, I told y'all, these fuckers are fighting game players, because this game has like hit stop, hit lag, all that shit. It makes every hit against an opponent feel good. Because when you get hit in this game, you go flying. And I mean it, you can go flying across the entire map if you get hit. Which was sort of a thing in SRB 2K, but it's taken to the next level here. I won't lie, when I'm invincible, I like running into people. For the dopamine spike it gives us seeing them fly. And I do know what that says about me. With low ring counts, you get like no iframes either, so your ass can just get comboed. Like, getting hit by the top item is high-key a game-ending maneuver. That shit can ruin someone's day. And while some people may find that frustrating, I think it's remedied by something that I currently consider sort of a mixed opinion on when it comes to ring racers. I do have some complaints about this game, but I also understand that most of it is a skill issue. This game has been in development for several years, and I'm certain that this game probably looks a lot different at a higher level, which I imagine the amount of dev sessions hosted over these years would certainly prove that this game works a lot better at a higher skill level. But as a newbie without much unlocked, on one of my first weeks of playing this game, playing the final course and absolutely roasting in hell, I can say that this game's comeback mechanics are a bit much. Like, people be getting invincibility items in 3rd or 2nd place, and some of the shortcuts you can take are truly wild. And what this creates is a game where I feel like it's very hard to front run in. Like, when I'm in 1st place, it doesn't feel great. It feels like, oh, someone with an invincibility item is about to run past me. And vice versa. When I go from last to 1st, just because I'm clumsily and skilllessly bumping into walls with invincibility power-ups at high speeds, it doesn't feel good. But I also understand that everyone kind of sucks at this game right now, and in its future, this probably won't be as big as a deal, which is good. I like when games get more fun and balanced as everyone gets better and reaches that higher level of skill. I imagine what the devs play when they get together is very different from the experience we're getting now, and I'm thrilled to potentially one day experience that. Another issue I have is how trolly a lot of the tracks are. There's a lot of strange track decisions with annoying hazards and springs, and sometimes just some awful nonsensical progression that feels almost knowledge-gatey at times. I already know this is another point to put into the skill issue cap, where some of these levels just feel so purposefully annoying. Maybe this will become less of a problem as I learn these courses, but we'll see. I guess my final bit of criticism, and probably my most major one, which I know none of the devs will do anything about, but I still want to talk about it because I think it's really worth talking about for the future of this game. Where the hell is Omochao? Like, do I have to spell this out? You've got all these characters and no Omochao? That character is peak, bruh. Like, who the fuck is playing as Maria? Justice for Omochao. I won't stand for them missing out on that ring racer action. Though speaking of characters, a lot of characters that didn't normally have a voice have voices now. I'm not sure if any of them were like done by the devs, but I do recognize a few from other games. What I'm saying is giving Bark Alex's voice lines is pretty genius. Also, shoutouts to them using Puyo Pop Fever's English RL voice. That's the best voice acting that character ever got. One last thing I want to talk about is mods. Kart Krew seemed pretty hesitant on releasing modding tools, at least at first. And to be real, I'm kind of sad that they did it at all. Like, yeah, sure, I can make noise again, that'll be fun. But SRB 2K sort of had this problem. A stigma that ended up sticking with the game and sort of consuming it in a way that both harmed and benefited it. It was the Mugen of kart racers. You'd go to a server and get bashed by all these silly characters, which more often than not was just an anime and meme fest. And I feel like this really took away from the identity of the game. It lost its Sonic blood. Ring Racers, I feel, is more Sonic than ever. As I mentioned, some of the map designs gives me that classic 2D Sonic vibe of having multiple routes to go. I mean, damn near every level is based off of a Sonic level. All the characters, the pets, the items, the gameplay mechanics, the tutorial story, the aesthetic of this game is all Sonic. And I'm not ready to start joining servers and hearing characters scream Among Us as an unfitting sprite of a crewmate drives by me. Like, I'll take all the Sonic OCs in the world, but when we start getting characters from different gaming franchises and anime, you lose something that makes this game special. At least to me. Yes, this game does have a number of guest characters, and I'm okay with that. At least they're still Sega or Sonic related. It's just that at the end of the day, I'm sure most people could agree that SRB 2K really stopped being a Sonic fan game and was probably seen more as some open source kart racer not based off of anything. A more major point that many players and even the devs were aware of is what SRB 2K became due to its mods. At the end of its lifespan, and even now if people are still going back to play it, you could join an SRB 2K server and suddenly get bombarded with all these new gameplay mechanics. Oh, you need to buy this key, oh, you need to pick a tricking style, play this little mini game. Uh-oh, the weather just changed, do you see that? Time to roll the dice, my gamer! Like, every server was its own game, and to new players, this was hell. How could they learn a game where every server had its own specific flags and mechanics? Like, oh yeah, this server has bump spark enabled, haste, item orbital timers, oh this one has the speed gates, this one has drafting. Like, it's a total mess. And meanwhile, a lot of new people are just trying to learn the courses. I don't entirely mind it. I think it's kind of cool. I mean, it's like booting up Xandronum and seeing what Doom mods people are playing today. But I love what Ring Racers is doing. I feel like it creates such a delicate balance that any mod seeking to fix or add certain gameplay features will completely shatter it. The game is perfect how it is. It just needs Omochao. So, hey everyone. The Spacey you've been hearing is the Spacey that voiced this original script, which was written within the first week of the game's release. But as you may know, I was sounding some bots, so I didn't get this video out on a timely manner, so now it's rather outdated and pretty useless. But at the current time, mods are here for the game. I'm glad that server searching is split between vanilla and modded, and at the moment vanilla seems to be vastly more popular than modded, which I do see that changing over time. It's probably just because there aren't too many mods out, and by that I mean level packs. There are a decent number of character packs, like hey guess what, we got Oma Chow, which wish they were a bit bigger like the SRB2K Oma Chow mod, and I wish it had the same voice lines too, but you know, I can't complain. I'm glad it's here. Welcome to the ranked squad. But overall, I love this game. And despite its myriad of mechanics and potential difficulty, I recommend it too. And even believe it to be more beginner friendly than SRB2K. Tell me, how many of y'all have tried to get someone into SRB2K only for them to consistently drive off the course, run into walls, and just have a miserable time? Even though I said that the difficult tracks in this game can be pretty trolly with how they spam random hazards, leading to a potentially confusing experience of its own, they've really upped it on the signage, to the point where it's a consistent factor seen in all levels. Nearly every turn and level has these signposts, and I think that's a great idea. Because I feel like the number one complaint from anyone getting into SRB2K is just how often they bump into walls, how hard it is to tell when a turn is coming up, and you know not everyone is a Puyo player and they can't look at the mini-map. And even sometimes I would get that vibe when I tried to play a course for the first time in that game. You just kind of have to accept that you weren't going to win or stand even a chance. And I don't feel that as much in Ring Racers. I also believe that the single player content is great at coaxing people who are potentially too afraid to play online, while still giving them the fun with challenging artificial players. SRB2K was a game you basically needed to play online to enjoy, and that's just not the same with Ring Racers. So yeah, while it made some big and controversial changes, I feel like what it achieved was beyond our expectations. And for that reason, I can say Dr. Robotnik's Ring Racers is the sequel we never knew we wanted. Hey, just want to give a shout out to my Golly Gamer supporter, Kenshiago. Dare I say Kenshiagoat? I know you're a moth, but you're also the greatest of all time. Alongside everyone else who's just been sticking around and supporting me, even though I haven't been uploading videos in a bit because I've been working on bot sound. But y'all already know the vibes. To anyone else, if y'all want to watch my videos a week earlier, then feel free to support me on Ko-Fi.